A housemaid finds herself trapped in a dangerous situation, forced to work for an employer with a disturbing past, someone who has suffered from severe mental illness and has even been treated in a psychiatric hospital. Her life is at serious risk. Will she make it out of that house alive?
Wow.
Being a housemaid.
You do? You know this is a live-in position, right?
Millie, a young woman, arrives at a luxurious home for a job interview as a housemaid. She is greeted by Nina, a housewife who conducts the interview herself. Nina claims she is pregnant and says she desperately needs help with the household chores. After the interview ends, Nina tells Millie that she will contact her soon once she has made a decision. Millie leaves the house, uncertain about her future. With nowhere to go, she spends several days living out of her car in a supermarket parking lot.
I'm sleepy and I pulled over to take a nap. I'm sorry.
One bright morning, Millie is awakened by two police officers while sleeping in her car. They tell her that she is not allowed to stay there and must leave. Shortly after they walk away, her phone rings. It's Nina. She asks Millie to come to her house immediately and start working. Millie is overjoyed and heads there without hesitation. Soon after, Millie arrives at Nina's home. The house is in complete disarray. Nina appears, clearly pleased to see her, and asks Millie to begin cleaning while she continues working on a speech she is writing. Thanks to Millie's efforts, the house quickly becomes much neater. Not long after, Nina's husband, Andrew, arrives home along with their young daughter, Cece. Cece seems unhappy, especially when she notices Millie stepping on the furniture while cleaning. Despite the awkward atmosphere, the four of them introduce themselves to one another. After finishing her work, Millie is shown to her room on the top floor of the house. The room is small, has no ventilation, and no lock on the door. Nina later brings Millie some food and gives her a new phone. Millie politely asks if the window in her room can be renovated so it can be opened, explaining that the room feels suffocating. She also asks for a lock on her door. The next morning, Nina's dark side slowly begins to surface.
I didn't see any notes. Where are they?
Millie oversleeps and rushes downstairs to start working. She is shocked to find Nina in a panic, screaming hysterically because the speech she worked so hard on the night before has gone missing. To Millie's disbelief, Nina accuses her of throwing the speech away. Amid the chaos, Andrew steps in and tries to calm his wife. He later apologizes to Millie for Nina's behavior. Not long after, Millie takes the trash outside and encounters a man who also works at the house. With a cold expression, he asks her, "What are you doing here?" Before the conversation can continue, Nina is seen watching them from an upstairs window. The man immediately looks frightened, cuts the conversation short, and walks away. Later that Saturday, Millie asks for permission to go out since it is her day off. Nina harshly refuses, but Andrew intervenes and allows her to leave. Millie then goes to the Human Services building. There, a troubling truth is revealed. Millie was once in prison and is currently on probation. She is warned to stay out of trouble if she doesn't want to end up behind bars again. After leaving the building, Millie goes to pick up Cece from ballet class at Nina's request. However, when she arrives, she learns that Cece has already received permission from her mother to stay overnight at a friend's house. Nina seems pleased to see Millie standing there, stressed and humiliated. When Millie returns home, Nina scolds her for picking up Cece, even though Nina was the one who asked her to do so. On top of that, Andrew's mother, who happens to be visiting at the time, criticizes Millie for wearing what she considers inappropriate clothing. Andrew's mother then proudly shows off her collection of valuable porcelain plates, family heirlooms, and reminds Millie to take good care of them, as they are among Andrew's most treasured possessions.
Family Feud.
That night, Millie struggles to sleep. She leaves her room, grabs a snack, and starts watching TV. Before long, Andrew joins her, and the two end up talking for quite some time. Unexpectedly, Nina appears. Andrew immediately leaves the room. Nina looks displeased and firmly warns Millie to stay away from her husband. One day, Andrew and Nina leave the house, asking Millie to watch Cece for the entire day. While cleaning Nina's bathroom, Millie discovers strong medication prescribed for patients with severe mental disorders, medication that Nina has been taking. She also finds one of her own dolls, which she had left in her room, now being played with by Cece. Millie asks Cece not to take her belongings or enter her room on the top floor. Instead of apologizing, Cece coldly tells Millie that she shouldn't be in that room either. The next day, unexpectedly, Nina gives Millie an expensive dress from her own collection, one she has never worn. She then asks Millie to book tickets to a music performance and reserve a luxury hotel room for herself and Andrew, claiming she wants to repair her relationship with her husband. Millie agrees. Later, Millie takes Cece to ballet practice. While waiting, she chats with another housemaid who works for a different family. From this woman, Millie learns a shocking truth. Nina once attempted to harm her own child by trying to drown Cece in the bathtub. Millie is stunned, as she only knew that Nina had previously been treated in a psychiatric hospital. When Millie returns home, Nina suddenly becomes hostile again. In front of Andrew, she accuses Millie of booking the concert tickets and hotel room without her permission and insists that Millie pay for them out of her salary. Andrew steps in to defend Millie and tries to help her get a refund so her pay won't be deducted. That same day, Nina and Cece leave for a vacation. This means Millie and Andrew are left alone in the house together. Andrew later tells Millie that the tickets and hotel reservations cannot be refunded. He suggests that Millie use them herself and take someone she knows on a short trip, but Millie has no close friends to invite. Unexpectedly, Andrew offers to go with her instead. The two leave together without Nina's knowledge. They attend the show, have dinner together, and spend the night together, eventually forming a deeper bond. The two appear to fall for each other, carrying on an affair behind Nina's back. Eventually, the forbidden vacation comes to an end, and they return to Andrew's house.
While Andrew and Nina are having breakfast together, Millie stands before them. Nina suddenly announces out loud in front of Andrew that Millie once spent 10 years in prison. The revelation leaves both Millie and Andrew stunned, completely speechless. Nina then orders Millie to go grocery shopping and tells her to use Nina's car. At the supermarket, Millie runs into one of Nina's friends while she's on her phone. The woman seems confused as to why Millie would accept and use a phone given to her by her employer, explaining that most housemaids know such phones are often used to track them. At that moment, Millie realizes that Nina must already know about her secret trip with Andrew, the concert, and the night they spent together.
What?
I said hands against the car.
Ow!
Unfortunately, Millie's troubles don't stop there. In the parking lot, police officers accuse her of stealing Nina's car after Nina reports it as stolen. Just in time, Andrew arrives and rescues Millie, bringing her safely back home. Once they returned, Andrew and Nina get into a heated argument. Nina confronts Andrew, revealing that she knows about his affair with Millie. Andrew finally snaps, admitting that he can no longer endure living with Nina and orders her to leave the house. Nina storms out, crying hysterically. From that moment on, only Andrew and Millie remain in the house. Andrew asks Millie to stay and live with him, and the two begin sharing the home together. However, Nina's departure is not the end of Millie's suffering. One morning, Millie accidentally breaks Andrew's treasured porcelain plates. She freezes when she sees the man who works at the house standing in the doorway. Startled, she drops the plates and the food she had prepared. Andrew is shocked to see his precious plate shattered. Surprisingly, he doesn't scold Millie. Instead, he storms outside and fires the man who had been working at the house. Andrew then leads Millie to the attic bedroom, the same room she once slept in when she was still working as a housemaid. Millie falls asleep there, but when she wakes up, she's horrified to find herself alone. Andrew is gone. From outside the room, he locks the door shut. Panicked, Millie begs Andrew to open the door, but he refuses.
The story shifts to Nina, who has already left Andrew's house. Surprisingly, she appears calm, almost happy. This is where the truth of the film finally begins to unravel. Nina writes a letter to Cece. In it, she reveals what truly happened. Back in college, Nina had a secret relationship with one of her professors.
From that relationship, Cece was born, meaning Cece is not Andrew's biological daughter. Later, Nina found work at the same company where Andrew was her superior. Andrew, wealthy and seemingly kind, stepped in to rescue her from the struggles of being a single mother. Eventually, they married. But Andrew's dark side slowly emerged after they began living together. One day, Nina told Andrew to dye her hair again because her natural dark roots were starting to show. He disliked seeing any trace of her original hair color. Unfortunately, Nina forgot to go to the salon. Andrew looked disappointed, though he didn't yell. Instead, he locked her inside the same attic room where he would later imprison Millie. Nina begged him to let her out. Andrew agreed, but under a disturbing condition. As punishment for forgetting the salon appointment, he ordered Nina to pluck out 100 strands of her own hair. Weak from hunger and thirst, she had no choice but to obey. She placed the 100 strands into an envelope and slid it under the door. But Andrew refused to unlock it. He claimed one of the hairs lacked a follicle. He demanded she do it again. Trembling and desperate, Nina plucked another 100 strands and passed them through the gap beneath the door. When she was finally released, she staggered out in a daze. Still disoriented, she heard water running in the bathtub. Panic surged through her as she rushed toward the sound. Inside the bathroom, she found Cece, still a small child at the time, lying in the tub. The attempted drowning had been Andrew's doing, but when authorities were called, Andrew twisted the story, claiming that Nina had tried to kill her own daughter. The letter reveals the truth. Nina was never mentally unstable. It was all Andrew's manipulation. He crafted the narrative carefully so he would appear to be the perfect husband, patient, loyal, devoted to a wife who supposedly suffered from severe mental illness. Because of Andrew's lies, Nina was institutionalized. She couldn't escape him. In her letter, Nina also reveals that the man who worked at the house, Enzo, was the only one who knew the truth. Enzo even offered to help her escape, but Nina refused. She had a plan of her own to end everything. To carry out that plan, she needed the right housemaid.
Millie was perfect. Blonde, vulnerable, the type of woman Andrew would feel compelled to rescue in order to feed his hero complex. And most importantly, Millie was a former convict with a violent past. Millie wasn't chosen by chance. She was chosen carefully through strategy and deliberate planning. The story shifts back to Millie, who is still locked inside the attic room. She begs Andrew to open the door. Just as he once did to Nina, Andrew agrees, but under a disturbing condition. Through the gap beneath the door, he slides in a sharp shard of broken porcelain. He orders Millie to carve 21 deep, long cuts across her stomach as punishment for breaking his family heirlooms. Millie stares at the jagged piece in silence. As she does, memories of her past resurface, back to when she was in high school and took the life of a teenage boy. She had caught him assaulting her friend. Acting on instinct, she struck him from behind, killing him. Millie was sentenced to 15 years in prison, but was released after serving 10. Now she is on probation. After getting out, she once assaulted a man who harassed her coworker. In her mind, she was exactly the kind of person Nina needed. Inside the attic room, Millie unexpectedly finds a knife. Once she has it, she begins cutting her stomach with the porcelain shard, just as Andrew demanded. When she's done, she slides the shard back under the door. The scene shifts to Nina having dinner with Cece. Nina suggests they leave the city for good, but Cece asks her mother to save Millie from Andrew's house. Nina looks surprised by her daughter's request. Back in the attic, Millie lies weak on the bed from her wounds. Andrew unlocks the door and steps inside. What he doesn't expect is Millie attacking him with the knife she found. A violent struggle breaks out. Millie manages to escape the room, taking Andrew's phone and locking him inside instead. The situation has reversed. Millie goes downstairs and eats a sandwich, her first real food in days. She gathers the remaining porcelain plates Andrew treasures, a container of fuel, and a pair of pliers. Then she returns upstairs. Through the crack beneath the locked door, she hands Andrew the pliers. She tells him to pull out one of his front teeth. If he refuses, she will smash every remaining porcelain plate he owns. Andrew refuses.
One by one, Millie shatters the plates. Still not satisfied, she pours fuel in front of the door and threatens to set the room on fire. Unable to endure the psychological torment any longer, Andrew finally pulls out his own tooth. Bloodied and desperate, he begs Millie to let him out. Instead of opening the door, she walks away and leaves him there. That night, Nina unexpectedly returns to the house while Millie is fast asleep. She rushes upstairs to the locked attic room, believing Millie is trapped inside and intending to free her, unaware that Andrew is the one imprisoned there. The moment the door opens, Andrew lunges at Nina and pushes her down the stairs. As he attacks her, Millie appears from behind and strikes Andrew. Millie manages to escape the house, evading Andrew's pursuit. Andrew returns to Nina, who is injured but conscious. He apologizes and begs her to take him back, promising he will never hurt her again. Nina refuses and angrily rejects him. Enraged, Andrew attempts to attack her again, but Millie suddenly reappears and pushes him from the upper floor. Andrew falls to his death.
This must be quite a shock. Do you have any idea why your husband might have decided to change a light bulb in the middle of the night?
Later, police arrive to investigate. Though they initially question Nina's story, Andrew's death is ultimately ruled an accident. At Andrew's funeral, Millie watches from a distance. Nina approaches her and advises her to leave town. Millie declines. She is still on probation and cannot leave the city. Nina then hands Millie a large sum of money as a gesture of gratitude. In the final scene, Millie is seen attending another job interview as a housemaid. Nina has recommended her to the woman conducting the interview. The woman explains that she desperately needs help because her husband is a difficult man, perhaps not unlike Andrew. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next movie recap.